All right, let's talk about data careers. You ever look at all the job titles out there and just your head starts spinning? Yeah, you're not alone. It feels like a total maze. But here's the thing, it's also one of the most exciting fields you can get into. So let's try to make sense of it all, shall we? So, data scientist, analyst, engineer, what's the real difference? I mean, seriously, it feels like a new title pops up every other week. Are they all just fancy ways of saying the same thing? Well, nope, not even close. Each one of these roles has a super specific, super important part to play in a much bigger picture. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to break it all down and see how all these pieces fit together. Okay, so before you can do any of the cool stuff like analyzing data or predicting the future, you've got to have a place for all that data to live, right? You need to build its universe. And that's where we're going to start, with the people who lay the foundation for everything else.
First up, we've got the data engineer. And honestly, the best way to think about them is as the master plumbers of the data world. Seriously. They're the ones building all the complex pipeline systems, using stuff like Python, SQL, and Spark. Their job is to make sure data gets from point A to point B, reliably, all the time. Let's be real. Without them, nobody else has any data to play with. It's that simple.
Okay, so if the data engineer is the hands-on builder, then who's drawing up the plans? That's the data architect. They're the ones with the master blueprint for the entire data city. They have that 30,000-foot view designing the whole ecosystem from the top down. They're making the big calls, like how should our databases be structured? What cloud systems should we use? They're making sure the whole thing can grow and won't fall over later. So let's boil it down. The data engineer? They're on the ground, getting their hands dirty, actually building the pipes. The data architect? They're way up high designing the blueprint for the entire factory. It's a perfect partnership. One builds, the other designs. Makes sense, right? All right, so the foundation is solid, the data is flowing through the pipes. So what now? Well, now we can actually start to figure out what it all means. This next part is all about being a storyteller, finding the story that's hiding inside all those numbers and figuring out what's going on right now. And this is where the data analyst steps onto the scene. These folks are the detectives. I love that analogy. They grab their tools, SQL, Excel, maybe some Tableau, and they just dive deep into the data. They're on the hunt for clues, patterns, trends, little nuggets of insight that no one's seen before. They're the ones asking, okay, data, what are you really trying to tell me? Now, a close cousin to the data analyst is the BI analyst. That's business intelligence. If the data analyst is a detective looking for a mystery, the BI analyst is more like a business reporter on a specific beat. They're not necessarily looking for something new. They're focused on tracking the stuff we already know is important. You know, the KPIs. They build those dashboards in Power BI or whatever that give you the headline. Here's how we did this quarter. And that right there is the key difference in how they think. The data analyst is asking these big, open-ended questions, hoping to stumble upon something amazing. The BI analyst, they're asking very specific questions, like, did we hit our sales target? Both are absolutely essential, but their jobs are different. One explores, the other reports. And you know, within this whole analyst world, there's an even more specialized role, the product data scientist. Think of them as an analyst who is laser-focused on just one thing, the product itself. They live and breathe user behavior data. They're running A/B tests all day long to see what works, and their insights directly shape how that product gets better over time. Okay, so let's recap. We've built the house, and we've figured out what's happening inside it right now. But what about tomorrow? This is where things get really interesting. We're about to use all that data to try and predict the future. We're stepping into the world of data science and AI. And this is where we meet the quintessential data scientist. These are the innovators, the fortune tellers of the data world. They take their deep knowledge of stats and machine learning, fire up Python or R, and they build models that predict what's going to happen. They're not just looking back, they're forecasting everything from which customers might leave to what sales will look like next year. But here's the catch. A model sitting on a laptop isn't very useful, is it? It needs to be out in the real world doing its job. And this is a perfect illustration of a team effort, a handoff. So step 1, the data scientist builds the predictive model. Step 2, the machine learning engineer takes it and makes sure it actually works in production. And finally, step 3, the AI engineer weaves that magic into an app that you and I can actually use. So let's zoom in on that machine learning engineer. I think of them as the expert mechanics of the AI world. Their whole job is to take that brilliant model and make it robust. They specialize in MLOps, using things like Docker and TensorFlow to get a model off a scientist's laptop and ready to handle millions of requests without breaking a sweat. They are the absolute heroes who solve the, well, it worked on my machine problem. And that brings us to the AI engineer. These are the folks building the actual intelligent apps that we interact with every day. They're working with the cutting-edge stuff, LLMs, deep learning models, and using APIs to plug all that brainpower directly into a product. They create that final magical AI experience that you see on your screen.
Okay, but it doesn't stop there. All these roles we've talked about are now branching out into even more specialized fields, and some totally brand new jobs. We're now really getting to the frontier, the cutting edge of what you can do with data.
So beyond those core roles, you've got these deep, deep specialists. I'm talking about the statisticians, the absolute masters of experimental design. Then you've got your quants, the quantitative analysts, using mind-bending math to try and beat the financial markets. And of course, the research scientists. These are the true visionaries, the ones literally inventing the new algorithms that everyone else will be using in a few years. And to keep this whole massive data factory running, you need a solid operational backbone. These are the unsung heroes, the roles you might not hear about as often, but are absolutely critical. You've got data governance folks making sure everything's ethical and legal. You have MLOps and data ops engineers who are the automation wizards. And of course, the AI product managers who are actually deciding the why. What are we even building and for who? And the pace of change is just insane. I mean, we're seeing jobs pop up now that literally didn't exist 18 months ago. Think about it. An AI prompt engineer, someone whose whole job is to talk to LLMs effectively. Or an AI safety specialist, who's basically a security guard for super intelligent AI. These people are shaping the future of AI as we speak. Okay, so we've got this huge, growing list of jobs. It's kind of mind-blowing. The natural question is, where are they? Do you have to live in Silicon Valley to get one of these gigs? Absolutely not. And this is the great news. Just look at this breakdown. Data jobs are everywhere. We're talking fintech, healthcare, e-commerce, telecommunications, even in government, manufacturing, and energy. The truth is, every industry is becoming a data industry now. And that really brings us to the most important takeaway, I think. It's not about which of these jobs is the best one. That's the wrong question. The real point is that every single role we've talked about is a crucial link in a chain, a value chain that takes raw, messy, useless data and turns it into something powerful, meaningful action. Look, this whole world is changing faster than we can keep up. The job you have today might be totally different in 5 years, and jobs that don't even have names yet are right around the corner. So the final thought I want to leave you with is this. It's not just about what job you can get now. The bigger question is, what kind of role are you going to help create for the future?